Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, where we have completed what might be called the standard qualifying sessions, and now we move into potentially the fastest laps we're going to see this weekend. Up until now, at least, we may see them go a little bit quicker in the race. I'll explain why that might happen later on. We have two shootout sessions now. They are termed Top Qualifying 1 and Top Qualifying 2. If you're going to set the pole position, you need to be in Top Qualifying 2. That comes later. There are already 12 cars sitting ready to go in that session, which will come up later on this afternoon, and we'll have coverage for that for you. This is only the only cars eligible for this are the SP9s, therefore the GT3s, and the SPX cars. So 12 in, 5 places to play for, and the rest of the SPX field and the SP9 field playing for those 5 transfer spots, if you will, into the final shootout for pole. At the moment, we've got sunshine, but this being the Eifel and the Nürburgring, anything could happen in the next half hour, to quote Stingray and Jerry Anderson. There are very dark clouds overhead. It's going to be very spectacular for the photographers, particularly if they get their wide-angle lenses out, because looking down towards our left, we're on the start-finish line, up towards pit-in, looking down towards our left, down to the first corner on the Grand Prix circuit and the AMG Arena, the area, in fact, where the weather normally comes from. It looks like end of days down there. But the castle is in sunshine. Welcome to the Nürburgring on our fast Friday afternoon. It's the two Peters with me, John Hindhoff. We'll have full qualifying coverage for you. Peter Mackay and Peter Snowden. We then have to find out who are the 5 that will go through. This, if you like, is the last chance saloon for these particular runners. What is it, 16 I think that we've got out here. One car that we already know that is not taking part will be the Glickenhaus. As you might have heard if you were watching or listening to our coverage earlier on, they have a planned engine change now. The engine that they've been running up until this point in the week has got a lot of miles on it. It was never going to be their race engine. And Jim Glickenhaus and the rest of the team having a bit of a powwow and thinking, well, what's the best that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? The best that could happen is they could start on pole position, and that would be very good indeed. The worst that can happen is that they'll start in 29th position. They've taken the view, and I can't say I blame them, to be honest, although the car was very quick in that last session. They've taken the view that giving the lads a bit of early night tonight is a better thing than having them work all night and then having to come back tomorrow morning and still have to spanner check the car in the morning warm-up, because the engine has to be changed one way or t'other. It's a question of when they start that, and it started already. It started at the end of the last session. So Glickenhaus will be at the back of the first group and will not take their place here. However, Peter Mackay, there are some big names, huge names, in this first part, the last chance shootout, to get them into the pole shootout later on. And only 5 of them can go through, and I might suggest there's more than 5 top quality names, so somebody is going to be, in fact more than one somebody, are going to be disappointed.
There's going to be many teams and drivers disappointed when they go to bed this evening. 14 cars going into the shootout, 5 positions, and when you look down the list of the starters, we kicked off with Marek Bachmann in the Pro Sport. Aston Martin is the first car due, but then second car due, David Pittard, winner of the race last year, one of the quickest drivers in the race last year in that Fricadelli Ferrari.
How has the start order been come about? Because this hasn't been set by times.
No, it's been a draw, luck of the draw.
So literally picking numbers out of a hat.
Yeah, a bit like a football knockout draw.
And at home, number 17, Pro Sport Racing, will play number 34. Well, that would be even better. A head-to-head, side-by-side competition. Oh, I'm putting that in as an idea, as the move. I like that much better. Well, getting the shake of the head from our driver, Peter Snowden. And we've also got a guest from Aston Martin Racing, Simon Strang. The PR guru is watching over our shoulder, and he was just shaking his head as much to say, that where madness lies, Hindhaugh. Peter, come on, match race, 1 lap round the Nordschleife.
What's not to like? What's not
As a driver, how can you not like that?
Exactly, what's not to like? But you just mentioned there that David Pittard, the winner from one of the 4 drivers of the winner last year, obviously this year in the Valkenhorst Aston Martin, as is the other car, the 36, the 34 car is already through, 35 car, so is already through. But of course, that winning car last year, he's not in that car. That's the Ferrari 296 of Ficcadelli. That needs to qualify as well. As do, just noticeably, a couple of things like 98, 99, Rover Racing.
Both Rover Racing, yeah. One of the Get Speed
no
cars.
Pressure, Get Speed car. Obviously, the Glickenhaus, that should have been 15, should have been 1/3 of these going through. The Glickenhaus not taking part, as we've said. And Dynamic as well, they're in this as well.
Is that the Pirelli Shod car?
Correct.
It is, right, OK. Let's run through what you're going to see. Join the conversation with us here, hashtag RSL_N24 at RSL_studio. That'll bring you, that's the only way that you can get on our screens here in the Global Broadcast Centre. So the cars will go around for a warm-up lap on the Grand Prix circuit and come back to the start-finish straight of the Grand Prix circuit. They will be lined up in their order that's been drawn out of a hat. Do we know what sort of a hat it was?
Might have been a bucket, actually.
Oh.
I'm not sure is the answer.
Well, I think that's poor journalism, to be honest with you.
Sorry.
These are the questions people are asking. What receptacle were the numbers? And was it balls or pieces of paper?
I'm really disappointed in you here, John.
I'm sorry.
The Glickenhaus story.
I'm sorry. Yeah, all right. Yeah,
No
fine.
pressure, Pima. No pressure.
Okay. So they'll be lined up. Right, seriously now. Come on, get our serious heads on. Seriously now, they will be lined up, line astern, on driver's left. We'll normally see our race director with a flag. That's what's going on now. They're getting into line. On driver's left, there is the Glickenhaus trophy for the ultimate pole position.
Perhaps Jim, being the ultimate gentleman, Jim Glickenhaus, this is, maybe didn't want to win his own award.
You don't know Jim very well, do you?
No.
So you need to change the name to it. As simple as that.
No, it was
I'm obviously, I'm completely jesting, of course.
You've never been a driver in a team, or PR?
So they're lined up on driver's left on the start-finish line. They'll be flagged off at intervals. So effectively, it looks like a sprint. For those of you who know, or the start of a rally stage, they are not setting off en masse. You have 5 seconds from the time that you are flagged away to start going. There is a maximum time for you to do your warm-up lap, and then you have the choice of 1 lap or 2. If you've decided you've done enough at the end of your first flying lap, you can peel back off into the pits, having come round on the Grand Prix circuit. If you do that, and you enter the pits, it's over. You can't go back out again. You may decide to go for a second lap, and sometimes that is better than the first. That's what happens. The top 5 then will go through. Those top 5 then have to be refueled, because all of these cars are running full fuel. And that's why I said right at the very beginning, we might actually see faster laps in the race when the track rubber's up and when cars are lighter as well. So they are full of race fuel. That is part of the regulations. So the 5 that go through are allowed to change tyres, and they must change drivers. So the driver who does this qualifying, if they get through to the pole shootout, cannot do that particular sector. So 2 drivers have been nominated by each of these teams, and we'll find out who the second one is when we find out which 5 are going through. So that is basically how it works. When we get to the pole shootout, it's an exact repeat of what we're seeing here, and there are some stressed out looking people, because even though this is a 24-hour race, we have seen here in the past, Peter Snowden, just how important a good starting position can be here to get you out of the melee, to give you the track position, because all these cars and all these drivers are very good indeed, and trying to make up time in the race with no wave bys, no pass arounds, no safety cars to close up the field is very, very difficult indeed.
Well, it's that high-speed game of chess, isn't it? Which is 24-hour racing, and it's constantly variable, lots of things moving, and it's just. We were saying yesterday that how important is a qualifying position. There's always this pressure with it, and there's sort of this handle of it's a great deal of pressure to start better at the front, but equally you can see things that happen, but you don't want to be dropping back at the beginning. I often think it's almost over-pressurised to a certain extent. I'm not suggesting you qualify last, but it doesn't matter that much, and it's risk versus reward ratio, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you bin the car here, then you've got till tomorrow morning, or I suppose you've got till start time tomorrow to fix it. Hello to Right Turn Lover. Hello to Paul Ayling, top qualifying, tuned in, watching and listening, using the hashtag RSL_N24. Johnny May in the Orange Army. Why can't all qualifying sessions be like this? I don't disagree with that. I think this is a good way to set it. IndyCar kind of do this, but they keep putting all the cars out on the track together, and it takes a very long time. I think it would be just as easy to set them off at intervals. Now, this is a longer track, and there's nothing to stop you overtaking on the out lap or on your qualifying lap. You don't have to stay behind the car in front. You can get a cheeky little draft down the Dottie Gahor, and that has made difference in the past. I think this is what Formula One should do. Particularly somewhere like Monaco, I think they should do just 2 flying laps.
For me, the Nürburgring 24-hour is one of the highlights of the motorsport year, if not the highlight for me personally. This qualifying session is the highlight within a highlight.
Yeah, totally.
And when you mentioned the potential side-by-side race, I was thinking, are you not entertained? Is this not exciting enough? I don't think our pulse can take more than what this is about. Yeah, everyone talks about a driver going on low fuel, fresh tyres. Okay, we don't have low fuel here, but it's a 1-lap, clear lap of the Nordschleife. That is a special thing in itself.
And that for a driver is just phenomenal. For me,
did you ever get a clear lap like the guys here will get?
I was in such a slow car and I drove so slowly anyway. I was always in traffic. I was always being lapped. Ridiculous. Lovely thought though. I love the optimism, John. Thank you. And it was a very long time ago. Photographs are in black and white. They're not even available on the net now. Anyway, but to me, Le Mans has the kudos.
Yeah.
Nürburgring 24 has the credibility to me. This is the one I'd want to do just from a driver point of view. It's the outside world don't know as much. Everybody knows Le Mans or whatever now, because Le Mans is there. It's that glamorized and whatever. Like everybody knows the Monaco Grand Prix. This is the one for me because of the circuit. It's just that. It's the one thing that wins every single year here is the circuit.
Yeah, that's right. A minute to go. So the number 17 Aston Martin Vantage AMR in SP9 Pro. Pro-Am cars in this as well, by the way. Franz Conrad's Lamborghini is in there, and Franz is standing as usual in his jeans and his wind cheater down on the pit wall. Pro Sport then has Marek Buchmann behind the wheel. He'll be followed away by the number 34 Valkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin. So a pair of Aston Martins. One of the previous versions, David Pittard, has the brand new Evo version of that car, which we saw debuted at Daytona in the camouflage, and that was all very cool. I enjoyed that. I thought it was quite funny that people hadn't even realised they'd seen it when they saw that. That was really nice by Aston Martin Racing. There's the green flag given by our race director, and Marek Buchmann eases away downhill. The slightly different shape of the bodywork and the front end, the darker coloured number 34 with the gold highlights as they pull away down the hill, and David Pittard is rolling. Adam Christodoulou is in one of two Mercedes AMG Team Get Speed AMGs, and he has had the green flag. Rover Racing 99 BMW M4 GT3, their new car revealed early on in the week. We'll talk a bit about that, I'm sure. That is Sheldon von der Linde. Nico Varrone, the Argentinian Italian, in the Ferrari 296 GT3, the only Ferrari here this year for Fricatelli. He's off and running. Conrad's Lamborghini is driven by Danny Sufi, the number 7 car. Arjun Maini going out in the number 3 Team Bilstein AMG car. Rover Racing's 98 getting its green flag for Augusto Farfus. Dan Harper, who was exceptionally quick last night, had about 3.5-4 seconds on the field at one stage, and he's off in the 72. The Hankook Competition Porsche in the 992 Porsche Cup car, running in SPX because it's running with Hankook tyres. Stephen Chaw behind the wheel of the number 60. All of the rest of the GT3 Cup cars, of course, running on the control tyre. Schnitzelam Racing, Jim O'Hertling in the number 11. Walkenhorst Anders Burkhardt for another Aston. Dynamic on the Pirelli tyred number 54 992 GT3R in the Pro class, and Team Get Speed will be the last car, the white car with the red stripe to the left-hand side of the car, and an asymmetric design with the narrow and broad stripes, and he rumbles away. That fades into a darker colour at the back. So that's everybody rolling exactly as expected. Remember, no Glickenhaus. Peter Snowden. I'll say Snowy, actually.
Exactly. What we've done for the last 25 years, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Just very, very quickly looking at some of the sector times coming up. Sector 1s haven't come up yet, but Sector 2s. Marek Bogman in the Aston Martin, 46 seconds. Pittard, 104 in Section 2. Mm-hmm. Quite a bit different at the moment.
This is all about tyre warm-up, though, Peter.
Yeah, it's just interesting, just the different styles of how people go out there. It is only Sector 2 of the first lap, don't get me wrong. Let's not read too much into it, but it's almost like FP1, FP2, so like, yeah, but it's just interesting, the differences in styles.
And remember, every car has unique tyres to it. So we have confidential tyres here at the Nürburgring 24-hour, whether that be if you're on a Michelin, a Pirelli, Hankook, whatever it might be. And each brand of car has its own specific set of tyres and various different compounds. So that could be totally down to the tyres that are fitted to the new Aston compared to the old one. And of course, David Pittard, different driving style, etc. There's so many different variables here, which is the great thing about the Nürburgring 24 is we have not just one but so many different variables to throw at it, and how you actually heat the tyre up and bring it up to its optimum is so important for this 2-lap dash.
Exactly, and that's exactly the point I was trying to make there. You can't read too much of this. Suddenly it looks at it and suddenly you've got a purple sector. It's quick. You think, why were they doing that? Who's on the fire? It's the first bit of it. We've got this is qualifying, Peter. We've got a 24-hour race tomorrow. I was talking to friends the night before we came out here, and they were saying, what is it you're off to do, and this, that, and the other, and so we're saying 24-hour race. Now, Layman, she's a lawyer, and she just went, 24-hour race. She was one of the brightest people I know. She's like, 24-hour race. And I went, yes. And she went, but how long's the race? I said, 24 hours. And she went, no, but seriously, how long's the race? I said, Emma, it's 24 hours long. And she went, well, it can't be one driver. I said, no, of course not. There's 3 or 4. And she went, what? And trying to get somebody who's not involved to understand the concept of you race for 24 hours. And she's like, how many cars? And I said, 120, 130. I won't repeat what she said.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? And the point I'm trying to make is, we're so wrapped up in it, we're so used to it. It's just 130 odd cars, 25-lap circuit, 24 hours.
Hello to Gary Paravani, who is watching and listening, and a brand new race fan. We're minting a brand new race fan, 8-year-old Melody. Hello, Melody. if you're going to start your motor racing watching with the Nürburgring 24-hour top qualifying, that's a pretty good place to start. I think that's excellent parenting, Mr. P. Well done on this fast Friday afternoon. If anybody says anything, by the way, quite a lot of schools are in half term in the UK, so I'm not sure it's a day off school for Melody. There's as I say, been a week off for the wit break in the UK. Just this opening lap, PMAC, as our leading car comes back around, and that's Marek Bachmann for the Pro Sport Racing Aston. It's been through shade, black clouds on the Grand Prix circuit, now in full sunshine, coming back towards us as he's just gone through the carousel, the Caracciola carousel, and now effectively heading back towards us here on the start line in elegant and splendid isolation. I wonder if this is actually perhaps a little bit off-putting, because he's not seen anybody else, being the first driver away, and as far as the gap behind him, he's doing rather nicely, thank you very much. Down to the packed crowds at Brunchen. He's not by any means up to racing speed, bringing those tyres up in the best way. They'll have discussed this. Rides the block paving on the exit, but not onto the red and white curbs. Through ice curves, so called because it's under the trees and it's one of the last places that the frost disappears. It's also, when it rains, stays damp there. And now on that long run back, that long, very fast run back through Flansgarden and Stefan Bellos off S, and then across the bridge to Schwalbenschwanz and the mini carousel. Huge crowd here, by the way. Huge crowd here. 235 we're here. 235,000 were here last year, and I would have said that we were getting on towards that yesterday, to be honest. It was a holiday in most of Germany yesterday. Today is the bridge day, Brücketage. So people taking an extra day off to make it a 4-day weekend, very sensibly. And this race always around either Corpus Christi, which was yesterday, or one of the other May bank holidays. Has pushed into June a couple of times, of course. We are in June now, starting in June tomorrow, rather, starting a very, very busy month of endurance racing. So, Snowy, Bachmann, this has been steady. He's on the Dottinger Höhe now, in the sunshine, waving left and right to ensure that his tyres... Were you a weaver, or were you a braker and an accelerator for tyre temp?
Both. Yeah, weaving gets the heat into the sidewalls. That's the one thing, because you want to make them compliant, because you start to ride curbs on sidewalls that aren't pliant, you have tyre damage or failure later on. So it's in your interest. Why do you want that? Especially on the Dottinger Höhe, or anywhere, to be honest, in a racing car. The braking bit does a couple of things. It gets a lot of heat into the disc because you put on the brake, left foot hard against it. But what it does then, that heat then graduates down through the hub and into the wheel, and into the wheel rim and into the tyre as well. So it does both.
From the inside.
Correct.
Yeah.
Also, it gets the transmission fully up to working order. So it's all the whole thing. Everything works.
We have got a car on a flying lap. Marek Bachmann has started his lap in the Aston Martin. Now, did the Valkenhorst car go through in second, or have we got a Mercedes gone through in second on the road? That's Adam Christodoulou, then the BMW. I'll have to check to see where David Pittard. I didn't see him go past us. It doesn't mean he didn't, because I was talking to Snowy at the time. It seems they are coming through in the order they started. Nico Veron just going past our start-finish line position. So Marek Bachmann has got the start. No, we've got an Aston that is out of position. Now, was there a mistake here, or was this deliberate by the number 34, David Pittard?
As Snowy picked up on in the Sector 2, which is the second part of the Grand Prix track, David Pittard was much slower than everybody else, perhaps going through a different heat-up programme. Doesn't appear to be any issues as he goes tearing over the line to start his flying lap, David Pittard, in that number 34 Volkenhorst Motorsport. But we'll watch the splits very closely. But remember, you've got to do 2 laps here. So 1 warm-up lap and then 2 laps. That's 75 kilometres.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to take out the tyre, and maybe David Pittard's thinking about that. Yeah, so he obviously thinks it's going to stay dry between now and the end of his second lap.
Interesting that he's put himself behind Nico Varone rather than behind Marek Bachmann. Maybe he thinks the Ferrari is a quicker car, and therefore he's likely to get less interruption and more advantage behind being behind that car. I mean, frankly, just driving around the Nordschleife, Rav already run out of mental capacity, and they're already thinking about strategy. Early parts of the lap then on the Grand Prix circuit, a 40.6 and a 43 flat for Bachmann. Pittard, a 40.6 and a 43.1. No quicker than the Pro Sport older version of the Aston Martin. 40.2 and 42.7 for Team GetSpeed and Adam Christodoulou. A 40 flat from Van der Linde in the Rover Racing car at a 42.5. So that is the fastest car at the moment. 40.1 and a 40.4 from Varone in the Fricatelli car. So at the moment it's Van der Linde and Varone who are the 2 fastest cars, but this is very early running indeed. Sheldon Van der Linde with a slight advantage at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, put those 2 together, and you spotted it, John, there. He's the quickest one in the Rover Racing number 99 M4 GT3, now a 102.4 in the third sector. That way, Verona in the Fricatelli Ferrari just on a 102.2, 2 tenths quicker in Sector 3 already on his first flying lap. Last year's winners, of course, car number 1, Fricatelli Ferrari 296.
No do-overs here, no second chances. It's the top 5. So we reset the times, by the way, after this. You don't carry your time forward. Sheldon Van der Linde coming out of the foxhole at Adenauer Forest at the moment. Short, straight stretch, gently climbing uphill. Little right-hand kink. Stay over to the right-hand side of the road. Cut across to the left for the 2 left-handers. The second left-hander uphill a little bit. That slows you down across the brow, down towards Callan-Hard. Stay at the left-hand side of the road. Stay off the red and white curb. Do not touch the red and white curb. Short shift through the gearbox. Diving downhill now. Coming up is the slowest corner on the Nordschleife. The Siphon, the left-handed hairpin. And he's coming down. There's one more right. And he'll brake now, just before the right-hander. Balance the car. Tip it in. There is a little bit of camber there to the inside. Now, accelerate. You're going downhill now towards the bridge. Adenauer, the town to his right-hand side. Huge spectator area. Used to be a big change of surface on the exit here, and that was exactly where you used to lift off. Barely a touch on the brakes for the right-hander. Now, to the Lauda corner, where Nicky had that terrible accident in the fall. Can you imagine Formula 1 cars around here? It's barely imaginable. Now up to Bergwerk, late turn in, and it did look like the Rover Racing BMW was somewhat recalcitrant turning in there. They had a couple of goes at getting the apex. Now you're climbing, and this is super important. As little lock as you dare, so you're not scrubbing the front tyres. Meantime, Bachmann a little further on around the circuit. He's setting a decent one. It's Verone who's setting the times at the moment, and I reckon he's got around about quickly. I reckon he's got half a second on anybody at the moment.
Verone's best time there through sector 3, which is going, basically it's the Hatzenbach effectively, quicker than anybody went in either of the qualifying races of any of the whole field. So he's really pushing on the pace. We've not seen anyone get close to those times all race week. So with the teams, the drivers, the cars, everything gets turned up to 11 here in this top qualifying.
This is the last chance saloon for these teams, cars and drivers. If they want to have a shot for pole position, they've got to be in the top 5. And we're waiting to see those first times come through.
Rova know what the pain of missing out that top qualifying 2 place is, because one of their cars finished second last year. It started 31st. I'm sure they went to bed that night going, if we'd been up the front in qualifying, we might have been able to challenge that Ficcadelli Ferrari. So yes, 24-hour races, you think, who cares about qualifying? Here it matters. If you're in the wrong end of the top 30, you've missed the bus. It's gone. The pace is too strong at the front of the field.
Yeah, that's my point. It doesn't matter that much, but it does when you're 31st.
Yeah.
The whole point there, you just proved it perfectly. You start 31st, you finish second. If you'd started 30th, 20th, you're like, they were sitting there, ruin the day, what have we missed? Exactly that. So, yeah, it's all relative. What I'm saying is, I think if inside the top 10,
you're there.
It's a place you can go to bed that night and think, we're in the top 10, that's fine.
Bachmann then coming through to the Gallows Hill corner. Double apex, or double right rather, can give up the first part of it because you want to take as much speed as you want onto the long, straight Dortiger Höhe. Straight but not flat. Downhill from Galgenkopf, and then it flattens out, then it goes over a rise, and then you drop down again under the Bilstein Bridge at the left kink at Antonius Bucher. 270 miles an hour, 270 kph, 270 miles an hour or thereabouts.
You know, I've been worried for a minute there. 270 mile an hour GT3 car. Where do I put my order down?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hooky
All right.
engine.
Bachmann then through the final chicane rejoins the Grand Prix circuit. Now we strain our necks and look to the right. Still in sunshine here. Crosses the line, and the time comes up at an 8:15.777. Next across the line will be Adam Christodoulou. It won't be Pittard. Remember, he got out of order, so the green AMG comes through. I'm expecting a 12. Oh, it's only a 15.
Watch Van der Linde.
Only a 15 flat. Van der Linde next in the Rover Racing BMW. He goes across the line. That's more like it at 11.7. That's put him in with a huge opportunity here. Next up will be Varone in the Ficcadelli Racing. Here he comes, the Ferrari 296 right in the middle of the road. Goes to second with a 13.0. 1.3 seconds Van der Linde at the moment. So Varone was quick in the first half of the Nürburgring. Now here's Pittard playing the tactical game. Comes across the line, the low rumble of the Aston. It's only an 8.17. He is the slowest of the 5 cars who've gone through. He must be saving some tyre for lap 2.
He's got to be doing a build-up, surely. David Pittard is a real hot shoe. He was so fast last year and brought that car home. He did the race start for that car in the Ficcadelli Ferrari last year. Of course, moving to Valkenhorst Aston Martin this year, definitely David Pittard and that car have more in the tank. The driver I'm looking out for is the 72 of Dan Harper, who's been a star all week long, and he's coming to the end of the Nordschleife now. We should get his time in just a second.
Harper then with the Shell Helix BMW, flashes past them, across the line now, and his time comes up to second, 3.5 tenths away. So a 12 flat, only one driver so far, and that's Van der Linde in the BMW, who is under 8 minutes 12. It doesn't matter, because what we're looking at is who's 5th and who's 6th. Top 5, Rover Racing, BMW Team RMG, Ficcadelli Racing in the Ferrari, then the 2 Mercedes. Make that note, a Mercedes and Augusto Farfus for Rover Racing. That's the top 5. That's who's going forward right now. As it stands, not going through to the pole shootout, Adam Christodoulou, Marek Bachmann, Hartling, Pittard, Soufli. We're still waiting for the other cars to come through. Maro Engel is somebody who I think we're going to have to look at as well in the number 130 Mercedes AMG.
Engel looks very strong in Sector 5, which is one of the longest sectors on the circuit. That's going from Schwedenkreuz all the way up to Exmüller. So it's a lot of technical stuff through there. Very, very strong. Remember, Maro Engel has been on pole here at the Nürburgring 24 3 times.
Just remind our audience, Peter, what is the fastest time we've ever seen?
That was last year, Raffaele Marciello, an 809.058.
That was extraordinary.
It was pretty special.
Yeah. Cross the line then for the Aston Martin of the Valkenhorst car. Through goes the SPX, only SPX car in here. Remember, no Glickenhaus. They are doing a planned engine change, so they are not taking part. They will start at the back of the leading group of cars tomorrow as they come to the line. Still waiting for Engel. That's his engine you can hear behind my voice at the moment. The big V8 with the white and red car coming down the Dodigerhohe in the sunshine. Sun on his right-hand side. He hugs the right-hand side of the road as he goes through the King at Antonius Bucher and down underneath the Bilstein Bridge. You barely turn the wheel there. Just look where you want to be going. As he comes to the end of the lap now, he takes a little bit of curb actually in the middle of the final chicane and heads out onto the start-finish line. Here he comes now, Maro Engel. What are we looking for here? He goes to third, and the top 3 now separated by 0.6 of a second. Have they given their all? Now, Peter, this is where we find out who saved the tyres or who has set the car up. You've burned off, Snowy, you've burned off 2 laps worth of racing fuel. And 2 laps worth of racing fuel is a quarter of a stint coming up on Saturday. So the car is going to feel a lot different going into this 3rd lap.
Well, it's a lot of litres, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what the calculation is for these days, but it's probably... well, I bet they've got to be using at least a litre a minute, at least, I'd have thought, if not more, probably 1.5. So, that's 25. That's a lot of fuel got rid of, which changed the balance of the car.
Conrad Lamborghini in the pits. So Danny Soufli is only doing the one and done. So his 8.19 will be his lap. Currently he's in 12th position. So obviously everybody from 6th down over, that's their grid slot, PMAC.
And for Danny Soufli and that Conrad Lamborghini team, remember they're in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah.
Yes, they want to get a good overall result, but they've got to think about the Pro-Am class. They've got to save the car. Danny's put the lap in and thought that's enough. There could be an issue. We don't know at this point. If there is, we'll find out between now and the race. But that's a lap done. They will be on the grid for tomorrow's Nürburgring 24 hours.
So Bachmann still the lead car on the track in terms of track position, 4 seconds away from the fastest time. Forget that. What is he away from 5th position? Well, the answer is 1.3 seconds. So he needs to find a minimum of 1.3 seconds and assume that nobody ahead of him is going to improve as well. Now, in more normal motorsport qualifying situations, finding 1.3 seconds, Snowy, would be a hard task. But here, finding 1.3 seconds in 15 miles, with all the corners you've got here, it's half a tenth here, a tenth there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still not easy though. It's like anything. The top drivers here, which we're witnessing now, don't know this place by the back of the hand. It'll be millimetre precise all the time. The fact that the level of concentration is just higher because it's a longer lap, and you've got to know this circuit and know what's coming up all the time. So they're playing their A game anyway, certainly in top qualifying. So it's still as difficult to find. It's a longer level of concentration. Now, I would suggest that it really is about that concentration and that knowledge of the circuit, and the fact that the better you know it, the more you can relax and get on with just finding that time to try and remember what's coming up next.
Let's assume you were driving in this. Obviously, you'd be driving an Aston Martin. Indeed, so you've got the overall. He's got the overalls, by the way. If anybody can bring his own overalls, own boots, hands device, the whole lot. Do you go for it on the first lap and put in the quote-unquote banker, or have you, which would appear that David Pittard has done, do you save a little bit of tyre performance for lap 2? Because you're not going to do a storming out lap. So lap 2, you've at least seen the situation on the track and felt the grip level.
There's always between you and the team, there's going to be lots of levels of information and a great deal of discussion as to what to do that, and the driver at the end of the day, in theory, should just do as they're told by the team. So if the team have got better information to say second lap is a better lap to do it, there are certain people, I would imagine, that Pittard, Nicky team, happen to be in the same car, that probably don't want to do that. But personally, there's a lot to be said for getting that first lap in, getting your eye in, understanding the circuit, as you just said, and then going for it.
So Bachmann did improve enough to get him into the top 5 with an 8:14.4. However, Adam Christodoulou has improved as well, and he's on the bubble at the moment. So the qualifying standard to go through to the pole shootout at the moment is an 8:14. Let's call it an 8:14 flat. 8:14.002. Here comes Varone and goes to the quickest point. I reckon he's through. He's done a 10.8. A 10.8. He's through. There are not going to be 6 cars quicker than him. Varone pulls it out the bag. The man who is doing his first race here, given the pressure and the honour of qualifying for the race defending champions at Frickadelli and Ferrari. Through goes Pittard, and Pittard has Pittard's not through. Pittard has not got through. He's only in 7th. Miney now in 5th. Christodoulou's out. Pittard's out. Bachmann's out. Farfus trying to race his way in on this second lap. Advancing at the moment. Frickadelli, Rowe Racing and Sheldon van der Linde. Dan Harper for BMW. Mauro Engel for Get Speed. And Ajahn Mani for Team Bilstein. No Pittard. No Christodoulou at the moment. No Farfus, but he's still got a lap to finish, still to complete their laps. It's surely only Farfus now who can race his way in. Here comes the 10th place car. This is Hertling in the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes. Improves the lap to a 16.6, but stays in 10th position. So that will set his position. Here comes the Rover Racing BMW of Farfus, and goes through and does not improve his time. A 16.8 against the 14.6.
None of the BMWs improved on the second lap. We've seen all week long, on the first lap out the pits, the BMWs have been rapid, and the rest have all gone quicker on their second or third lap out the pits. So there's something about the BMW, it switches the tyre on quicker, but maybe wears it out quicker.
So right now, Mauro Engel is in, and he hasn't completed his second lap. With due respect to the Porsche coming through now, I do not expect to see the Hankook car troubling the top times. 8:45.425 is the time that's got. It hasn't updated yet on the screen. And he has gone through. Pittard into the pit. There's a disappointment. So not in. Let me do the ins first. Transferring through to the pole shootout as it stands. Frickadelli Ferrari, Rover Racing number 99, Sheldon van der Linde. So Varone, van der Linde, Dan Harper for Team RMG BMW, the 72 car. Mauro Engel in the 130. And in 5th position, Ajahn Mani in the Team Bilstein number 3. Who was that going through at the end there? That was another Aston Martin, wasn't it? That was Burkhurst.
Yeah, Volkenhorst 36, yeah.
And did improve time, but not position. And is not through. Here comes the Hankook car. Yeah, that was the dynamic car that went through before. That didn't improve either. And through goes Chol, does not improve his time, actually 2 seconds away. 2 seconds slower on the second lap is a bit of a thing, to be honest. Here comes Maro Engel, doesn't need this lap, he's in. He has improved one sector. Engel at the moment in the 130, celebrating 130 years of Mercedes-Benz Motorsport. Now he's a couple of seconds away as well. So Varone for Frickadelli is the big winner there in terms of finding time. Here's the conundrum. That car's through to the pole position shootout, PMAC, but Nico can't drive the car.
You put former pole sitter in a Ferrari, Luca Ludwig, in the car. His father Klaus has the record for the most poles of 6. Luca was on pole, as I quickly grab my notes, back in 2022 in the Octane 126 Ferrari. You got to spare a thought for Adam Christodoulou there. He missed out going through by 0.140 of a second on a 25 kilometre lap. That's sore.
So, going through then is the Fricatelli Ferrari 296 number 1, the Rover Racing BMW M3 number 99, the BMW M Team RMG number 72, the 130 Team Get Speed AMG GT3, and the number 3 Mercedes AMG Team Bilstein AMG GT3. Position set on the grid and therefore not improving. Mercedes number 8, Valkenhorst Aston number 34, Pro Sport Aston number 17, Rover Racing number 98, Schnitzelarm Racing Mercedes number 11, Dynamic Porsche on the Pirellis number 54, Conrad Lamborghini, and those cars have now set their grid position. They will start behind the 17 cars that will go out next. Now, the question is, do they just drop in time order, Peter? Yes, they do.
No. They don't.
Top cube.
No, they don't.
Oh,
no,
okay.
they don't.
Right.
So they're dropped in not randomly. Well, yes, randomly, because we drew out of our receptacle.
Yeah.
So the qualifying position. So the car that finished second, which was the number 99 Rover BMW, will start second, ironically. Yeah. The car that finished top, the number 1 Frickadelli Ferrari, will start 5th in the queue.
Ooh.
The car that finished...
which is where they started.
5th.
In that first sector.
Yeah, the car that finished 5th, the number 3 Bilstein Mercedes, will start from 6th in the queue. The car that finished 3rd in that session there, the 72 BMW, will start 9th in the queue. And finally, 13th in the queue will be the number 130 Get Speed Mercedes.
Finally, of the 5 transfer spots. So, now, we've not mentioned the teams that got through. They qualified through in their performances earlier in the season in the qualifying weekend. So, Ralph Aaron in the Mercedes number 6 team Advan by HRT will start first. Then that second place qualifier, the Rover Racing number 99. Then Herbeth Motorsport in the Fat Turbo number 5 liveried Porsche, Matt Campbell doing qualifying duties there. Mike David Ortman for Aston Martin Valkenhorst number 35 will be in 5th position. Then it will be Frickadelli, Luca Ludwig, we think, in that car.
That would be who I would put in, but from our pictures in the global broadcast center, I think I just saw Luca Ludwig in his civvies and Felipe Fernandez-Lazar in his civvies, so that would mean then that it would be Daniel Kvyat going in.
Wow, that's not a bad choice either.
You're an embarrassment of riches there.
Yeah. Share a Sport are in 6th with the 16 car with Ricardo Fella. Let me just scroll down. Jutta Racing, Pierre Caffer's Audi number 71 is in 8th position. 9th position is the BMW team RMG. Dan Harper can't go again. Grello in 10th position, Lawrence Vanto. Share Sport Audi, number 15, Chris Haase. Maxi Goetz, the number 4 Team HRT AMG, is in 12th position. Then it will be the 130 Team Get Speed Mercedes AMG. Then it's Red Bull Team Abt, Kelvin von der Linde in the Lamborghini. That could pull something out here, that 27 car. The two Falcon Motorsports, Klaus Bachler and Nico Menzel, 33 and 44, 15th and 16th. And finally, the Lion Speed Porsche, the red and white car, Patrick Niederhauser. They will then line up on the straight. Peter Snowden. There were some surprises there in that first run-off to get into the pole shootout.
Yeah, and I hate to give him too much airtime, but David Pittard, seventh, at, elimination zone. Wasn't even expecting that. Was
never improved his first time.
No, exactly. I mean, we saw it at the first bit, and to the point we speculated, is he on a different strategy? Even though it's top qualifying, is he getting that banker lap in and going for it on lap 2? He must be getting the heat in the tyres. There's got to be a reason. And I nearly said he'll have a reason. He's no fool. He won the race last year as part of the crew in the Fricadella crew, and that's I've got to say from a driver point of view, I know he's Aston Martin contracted, and we had Simon Strang in here a few minutes ago from that, but you're not in the car that won it last year, and it's now just gone the fastest.
So here's what it came down to. It looks bad when you see he's 3.5 seconds away from the quickest car. He didn't need 3.5 seconds. He needed 0.6. He was 0.6 away from getting that car into the next part of qualifying. And that means that they are going to start 20th on the grid.
What I would throw in there, and I know that David will be really disappointed with that, he's only 0.08 of a second faster than Marek Bachmann in the old car.
Yeah.
So this is a new project for Valkenhorst. I'm sure it's
and
a multi-year.
And he got that, by the way, on the second lap. He did improve.
So for Valkenhorst, this is a new program. They've been with BMW forever, much like Fricadeli with Porsche forever. Valkenhorst have been with BMW forever. It's a new brand to them, and it's a new car for this year for Aston Martin too. So there is a lot of new going on. We'll see how they go in the race, but I know that they'll be really disappointed with that.
So Bachmann was quicker than Pittard on the first lap, and a tiny bit slower on the second lap. That's an interesting conundrum there. So now we've got to ask ourselves, and we can't know. I'm sure we'll get the news.
Was
there a problem on that outlap round the Grand Prix circuit? Did he?
He's got the message. Whether he replies or not,
right.
Actually, I don't know. But I've sent him the message. But that is my first thought of typical racing driver. Right? If the car's not quick, what do you do? Refer to the book of excuses straight away, and just what is it? It would point. To me, it would point towards, particularly as you say, Marek Bachmann time there. No disrespect to Bachmann, but it just doesn't seem to quite stack up. So maybe there's an issue with that Valkenhorst car. Maybe it hasn't just found its sweet spot yet. Maybe it is, as you say, Peter, that Valkenhorst have been BMW forever, and they haven't quite got their head around the car yet. Not casting aspersions, but then again, Fricadeli were Porsche forever. Jumped into a Ferrari, and they sorted that out pretty effectively. So
looking at the pace of the across when everything is strung together, sector by sector, the car has the pace to be quick. Of the ideal times, it was second quickest in qualifying 3 earlier.
I now know why Danny Soufi came into the pit lane. Something happened at the Tiergarten, and I heard a strange noise in the car. I was a bit scared. I thought there was something wrong with the rear tyres. Damn it, he says. It could have been a much better lap time. We've got to see what we can do in the race. It's a long 24 hours, he says. I'm looking to see if there was any information about any kind of incident, and the race control and the live ticker. By the way, commend the team that do the live ticker. It's absolutely incredible amount of information that comes through.
Just think about something about Danny Soufi there. There's a noise in the rear tyres at Tiergarten. It's one of the slowest parts of the circuit.
Yeah.
By the time you get to it, obviously, her approach isn't, but that's relatively slow. So, but there's a lot of lateral load in the car there. So you probably would think if there's suddenly some noises you're not fond of there, do I really want to start another lap? So, yeah.
Maybe cost them a little bit of time at the end of the lap as well.
The mind, the voices.
Yeah. I think that car's better than its 819 too. In that car. We've got another Lamborghini to go. All right, so live from the Nürburgring Nordschleife, Mother Nature is playing nicely at the moment with the sunshine through the clouds. Weather coming up from at the bottom of the Grand Prix circuit is normally where it comes from that direction. But as it stands right now, most of the paddock and the grandstands here, where we are on start-finish line, bathed in beautiful late afternoon sunshine, just coming up to 20 minutes past 6 Central European Summer Time. We have our 5 qualifiers. They will be added to the 12 that were automatically through to the pole shootout. And we rinse and repeat. Now, to make sure, if you are just joining us, perfect timing, to make sure that there is no advantage to the cars that have already been out there and qualified, none of those 5 drivers can go again. So Nico Varrone, Sheldon van der Linde, Dan Harper, Maro Engel and Arjun Maini have got to now get into their jeans and T-shirts and cheer along from the pit wall. So from the top, we think Daniel Kvyat will be in the Fricatelli car. Who would you put in the 99 to replace Sheldon to go again for Rover Racing? The guys look at me with
another embarrassment of riches.
Anguished looks to say, I have got to choose.
Dries Vanthoor.
Dries, OK. Dan Harper's done his job. He relaxes now, Peter. 72 car for Team RMG. It's got to be the other long-term member, surely, or do you risk Charles Wirtz in that car?
I think you do.
Ooh.
I'd hate to be controversial. I think you put Augustus Farfus in the Rover BMW as well.
Like the embarrassment of riches.
No, but so Farfus went out in the first car the first time. So can he get into the second car that he hasn't driven?
I personally, I could be correct, I believe you can.
Right.
Not the same car.
Right. So the 130. And what about the number 5? The Team Bilstein car?
The number 5? The number 3.
So number 3. In
3. So
yeah.
Arjun Maini, ever the superstar, did a great job to get that car through. AMG haven't necessarily had the dry weather pace this week. You've got Michele Beretta, Yusuf Owega and Frank Bird. Only on experience and being an FIA Gold driver, I would put Michele Beretta in. Very quick over one lap.
Do you think they were just looking to get into the pole shootout? Do they think that was what they were tasking by putting Arjun in there?
Everybody was. I think, look at Get Speed, 130, they've put 3-time pole sitter Maro Engel in.
To get
that was
through.
To make sure they get through, and there was no guarantee of that.
And he only needed 1 lap, by the way. He didn't need the second lap.
Maro had to pull everything out there because, again, AMG have not had the dry weather pace all week.
It's the age-old thing, qualify to qualify, you've got to be in it to win it. Mm-hmm. So get the car into the session you need, and then there's a strategy, isn't there? You don't just go 1 lap.
I bet a lot of the teams, when they heard that Glickenhaus weren't going out in top qualifying, they thought, especially after the time they put it in qualifying 3, they maybe thought, well, that's 1 less we have to worry about.
Yeah, they were second quickest in the final traditional qualifying that we had earlier on today. These are some of the best conditions we've had so far.
The best.
Absolutely lovely. And we're waiting for the cars to be called around. So, who did we put in Grello, by the way? Who's in Grello?
Laurens Vanthoor.
Oh, Laurens Vanthoor. Of course it is, yeah.
So Laurens Vanthoor and sharing the car with Kevin Estre, Thomas Preining and Ai-Chan Guven. And Laurens Vanthoor and Kevin Estre drive together in the Porsche Penske Motorsport prototype team in the World Endurance Championship. In fact, they lead the World Endurance Championship at this moment in time. Usually, Kevin Estre does qualifying. Laurens Vanthoor starts the race. Andre Lotterer, their other teammate, does the middle part, and Kevin Estre finishes.
He's the closer. Yeah.
The closer, exactly. It appears to me that with putting Laurens in for qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kevin Estre getting plugged in that car for the race start tomorrow.
You don't have to start the race with the driver who
Not necessarily,
qualifies.
but they share it equally. So if one's starting, they won't do qualifying or vice versa. They're very much fair across the board. Because I'm sure everybody wants to do it.
We have the 17. Let's have your predictions, please, before they start rolling out. Hashtag is RSL_N24 at RSL_studio. Let's have your predictions. Can Grello do it again? Will it be one of the top 5 qualifiers from that breakthrough session? One of the transfer spots? You've got to say it, that the Fricadelli Ferrari looked quick there. An 8:10, 8:89. Where would that have put them in this session? That's something that we've got. Write that down, Peter. 8:10, 8:89.
Is our okay? But I do have it written down.
Right.
For that reason,
put
yes.
everybody's times down.
I have, yes.
Good man.
Again,
It won't
reminding.
count, of course, they have to go again.
No, they have to go again, but I think the track's actually going to warm up slightly at this point with the sun coming down. 8:09.058 is the pole position record set by Raffaele Marciello, which usurped a 5-year record that stood from 2018. Lawrence Vanthoor in the Grello 911 Porsche. Will history repeat itself, maybe?
Yeah.
And also, the last pole sitter to go on and win the race was in 2016,
Which is Maro Engel.
Maro Engel.
Cars rolling out of the pit lane to take their positions on the start line. You've seen this now once already, so you know what's happening. The 5 cars that have transferred through from the knockout portion have been refueled. They've been retired. Sorry, they haven't been retired. They've had new tyres put on them, if you see what I mean. And they've had a new driver plugged in. And we will see those drivers when they come to the line. This is absolutely quality. So imagine you've been sitting there. Imagine you're Ralph Aaron or Matt Campbell or Mike David Ottman or Ricardo Feller in the Scherer Sport car. You've been sitting there waiting for this for quite some time. Fabian Schiller, it's going to be in the 130, 130 Mercedes in the Get Speed car. So Fabian Schiller, well, he knows his way around here. He definitely knows his way around here, Snowy.
Just one of the few that does, absolutely. Just getting a little bit of encouragement there from his teammate. Last minute chat, quite friendly. To say.
Would you want to speak to the driver who's just been out there as you're getting ready to go? Do you want to know what they've said, what they found out there?
Of course. Is anything I should know? Any surprises? What you don't want any surprises.
Yeah.
So is there anything different standing out that's going to catch you out and whatever because you're ready for it? But equally, whilst it's very tense from our point of view, calling it, from a driving point of view, you want to be as relaxed as possible. What you really want to be doing, certainly on a circuit of this scale, is using as little of your mind capacity as possible to drive the car fast.
Yeah.
That flow. If you're thinking about the flow again, just keep it going. That metronomic thing I was talking about yesterday when we're doing Q2 qualifying. Just get into a rhythm. Not blasé, not casual, because it can go like that. But you don't want to be thinking too much. In fact, the less you think about driving the car, the better.
Yeah. The 2 Falcon cars going towards the back of the 17, Peter. And again, that's not by design. That was drawn. All of these positions were drawn even before we knew the top 5 going through. It's a bit like the football tournament where you've got Team Advan and Herbert and Valkenhorst. They've already pre-qualified, and then you're adding in the 2nd position team from Group 2 and the 3rd position team from Group 4 and all that sort of thing. So we've got the Euros coming up this year, of course. This is interesting now. Get Speed going back out with the white and red car. Out goes the 44 Ferrari.
Porsche.
Ferrari.
Falcon.
Falcon.
Porsche.
There was an F in there somewhere. Fortunately, it wasn't an F that would curtail my career. They've already, the first car's already there. Ralph Aaron is already there, sitting waiting to go.
Remember, on the grid, you're not allowed tyre warmers. You are allowed them in the pits. So for me, you'd want to go as late as you possibly could. Take those tyres off the warmers at the last possible moment.
You are allowed to change tyres on the grid, though.
No, you're not.
So what happens if it starts to rain?
Sorry, you are. Excuse me. Sorry, you are. You're not allowed tyre warmers, though.
Right.
You're no tyre warmers on the grid, but you are allowed to change. You're right. Yeah.
So what you could do is you could have your tyres in the warmers till the last possible minute
roll them over the pit wall.
And roll them over the pit wall.
You could, as far as the regs are, I think that's possible.
So long as it's not within the time where you have to stop working on the car.
That's a very good point. By the way I read the rules, you could do that. You could send the car around the GP circuit on wets, and then very quickly roll slicks over the pit wall.
Trust me, by the time you've got them out of the blankets,
they're cooled. It's
cooled
not worth it, and you'd be better driving around.
It's counterintuitive.
You could do that.
Counterproductive.
They become busy fools.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seems like a good idea at the time. So we are
that competitive advantage.
We are lining up the cars to drivers left again on the start-finish line in front of a packed BMW M grandstand. Ralph Aaron then in the black and red Hub Motorsport machine with the Yokohama branding on that car, and they're running the Advan tyres on that car, aren't they, Peter?
Correct. Yeah. So we've got a good mix of tyre manufacturers. Michelin are the benchmark. They've got the results behind them. 9 out of the last 10 years, they've been the winning tyre manufacturer, and that's all the other tyre manufacturers that turn up here. That's who they want to knock off the perch. For Falken Motorsport, they have their own team, 2 factory Porsches, full of factory drivers. They are throwing everything at this race. They've never won it before as a team. Could they do it this year? I think they're in a good spot.
We reckon there are 10 different tyre manufacturers spread across the 23 classes that we have here at the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring for 2024. If you are just joining us, you have not missed the run to pole position. And it is indeed Daniel Kalvitz who is plugged into the number 1 Fricatelli Ferrari. That car with an 8 minutes 10.889 in the qualifying run to this. Just 5 cars that went through into this pole position shootout. Do you want to be first? Do you want to be last here, Peter?
First.
Snowy?
First.
Nobody in front of you?
No.
And you make sure nobody gets past you on your warm-up lap.
Just start as you mean to go on first and finish first.
Right. Let everybody else worry about your time.
Precisely.
Yeah. Put some pressure on.
RMG BMW Car 72, which has been one of the top cars of the week. Dan Harper getting it through into the top 5. Not necessarily a surprise. It will be Max Hess. Excuse me.
So not qualifying. If you are just joining us and you're thinking, I haven't heard anything from Valkenhorst number 34. That's because David Pittard did not qualify that car into the top 5. Adam Christodoulou was 6th for Mercedes, number 8. Pittard 7th for Valkenhorst. Bachmann 8th for Pro Sport. Farfus. Augusto Farfus will be disappointed with 9th. Didn't improve his time. None of the BMWs improving their time on the second lap. Schnitzelbaum in 10th. Dynamic Porsche in 11th. Conrad in 12th, with Danny Sufi hearing a strange noise from the rear tyres at the end of his first lap, so he parked the car. Valkenhorst, number 36, not getting through either. No Glickenhaus taking part. They are changing the engine in that car, and we have news.
Well, not that exciting. We don't like consolation prizes in motorsport.
No.
Because, the second place is the first loser, isn't it? As they always say. However, just as a matter of interest, one of our photographers has just come up through the highest Flansgarden jump in Top Q goes to
David Pittard.
David Pittard at Aston Martin. Exactly.
So he gets.
He won't thank us for that.
Air Pittard then, and top air, but not top 5 position.
I have an even more tenuous piece of information. Thank you very much to Tim Fulbrook, who's written in saying
Hello,
they didn't pick balls out of a bag. This is for the draw of the order. A gentleman, not a man, a gentleman, picked from envelopes like a pack of cards with the starting position inside.
Oh, okay.
So no receptacle.
Right. Okay. So it was a bit like an on-stage magic trick. Pick a card.
So it was, quote, the 911 Manthey Porsche will start, ... opens envelope, B10.
Right. So you had... So basically...
have your car and then you get the envelope to match where that is.
Excellent. Okay. Right. Okay. I like that.
It's a good bit of entertainment. That works well.
We could commentate
Well, I think next year we've got... Now, the question will be, how do you decide which order you call the numbers out in to allocate the number to?
He just always looks like greater depth, doesn't he, Tom?
Well, I need to know these things.
He totally missed what you just said there, by the way, John. That PMAC just suggests that maybe we try that in the commentary box.
No, I like it.
Bruce 1, 2 and 3. Just pick out an envelope. Who gets up? You're in this stint. I've just done 5 hours. Never mind, Bruce.
I like the idea of us commentating on it next year and doing the draw. Doing it live. No, my father always said to me, find out what happens before it gets to you and find out what happens after it's left you. 30 seconds to go then. We are ready for some more qualifying action, and this time we are going to decide who is on pole position for the 2024 ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Peter Snowden, Peter Mackay and John Hindhaugh, hello, in the afternoon sunshine. This is termed Top Qualifying 2. Let's say it as it is. This is the battle for pole position. And Ralph Aaron in the Mercedes number 6 pulls out for Team Advan on the Yokohamas. One of the qualifiers, second place with a 8:12 to that car's name. The Rover BMW is off and running. Herbert in the 1994 Porsche winning colours from Le Mans, the 962, goes off in 3rd position. So Aaron from Farfus, from Matt Campbell, it was Farfus. So he was allowed to take that car because he didn't run it. So he's got a huge advantage. Snowy's got it spot on because he's already done 3 laps. It's Ortman for Valkenhorst Motorsport, Mike David Ortman, who goes out next. Then Maxi Goetz, Ricardo Feller will be next to go. Sorry, I missed Daniel Kylevich there, who's been plugged into the Ferrari. I think that time is the fastest time we've seen this week by a margin that Ferrari put in that second qualifying lap. Pierre Caffer, watch Caffer go here actually in the gold and black number 71. We know that car can be quick. It was Awiga, Ricardo Feller, then Pierre Caffer for Bilstein AMG, for Scherer Sport Audi and for Jutta Racing Audi. Lawrence Vantor is flagged away and he followed Max Hesse for the BMW. This is tension. This really is. So Vantor for Manthey. Fabian Schiller in the 130. He's about to get the green flag. He does now. He'll follow Chris Haase. Schiller in the 130. There we go. Maxi Goetz actually following Chris Haase. Then the 130. Kelvin von der Linde in the number 27 car, the black and white car. Klaus Bachler in the Falcon. How will the 33 go? Team car right behind it. Opportunity to do a little bit of drafting down the Dottiegar. I'll lead you the first time, you lead me the second time. It's a tough strategy to make work because you can get in each other's ways at the other part of the circuit. But got to be thought about. Lion Speed is at the back of the 17. It was Christian Menzel, by the way, in the 44 car, and Patrick Niederhauser. There's a lot of Porsches in there, I noticed.
I think with your Falcon thing there, you're absolutely right, work together if the opportunity presents itself. Don't set out to do it, but have it there as in your mind.
In the back of your mind.
If that suddenly becomes where it's to your advantage and one loses out for some reason, then suddenly they're working together, then work together, get the draft, get them through, because it's a team effort. And don't forget, Falcon and this, as we've said before, they've been blinding NLS. They've got so many of those races. They seem to be great at 4 hours, not 24 hours, and they need to have that trophy still.
I know that the headlines are written on Sunday afternoon, but it would be a hell of a story for Falcon to get pole position here, PMAC. Against the might of the other tyre manufacturers. They're still seen as a little bit of an outlier. They've put a lot of effort into this race, particularly down through the years. I remember when they first came to the American Le Mans Series and they ran a Ford GT and a Porsche as they were developing the cars, and they always had good wet tyres. They won in the wet, and then they won in the wet on the streets of Washington? Was
Baltimore.
it? Baltimore, yes. Very good. Baltimore.
How often have we seen that with tyre manufacturers that come in new? They seem to get a wet tyre really good straight away.
But then the one in the dry at Mid-Ohio, and that was a big breakthrough for them.
I think Falcon want it to stay dry because their pace throughout the year at the Nürburgring, which has been fully dry, both NLS races, both qualifying races, the Falcon Porsches have been the benchmark on pace. Their wet tyre, I understand, is they've nominated it, but they haven't had the chance to get much mileage on it. So their wet tyre is very much an unknown. Falcon would love it to be dry. Of course, we really don't believe that the race is going to be dry. Certainly not.
Joe Bradley has said we will not.
He's our weatherman.
He said we are not going to use he thinks we might not see slick tyres used in any of the sessions, any of the race, should I say. At RSL_studio, and if you'd like to get in touch with us, use the hashtag RSL_N24. So,
if there's nerves here in the commentary box, can you imagine in the garages? Lots of teams, families, other drivers, of course, watching the timing screens with intent.
This is a warm-up lap, so don't expect to see huge times here. Jakob Fröhlich says Falcon 33, pole position. Greetings from Cape Town. RSL Studios says Ray Lithern, backing the Super Saffers, Sheldon and Kelvin von der Linde. Well, the Red Bull team app then is the tip there.
Well, Sheldon did his job to get his car, the Rover BMW, under pressure up into top qualifying 2. In a way, going in top qualifying 1 and trying to get one of those 5 transport spots is arguably even more pressure than going for the pole.
Jesse Young, where it is 2:40 in the morning tomorrow on the New South Wales East Coast, Australia. Tuned in for top qualifying, off to bed to tune into the GT races from the Bend and Super GT from Suzuka. This evening, by the way, on the streets of Detroit for the first time for the GTP cars and the GTD, effectively the GTD Pro cars as well. Shea Adam, Jeremy Shaw joining me for that qualifying session over on RS2. Right Turn Lover reminding us that Glickenhaus won their own trophy the first time around. Did they donate it after they had won it? And wasn't that the point? And backdated, I can't remember. So RTL's normally right though. So
I can tell you it was Jeff Westfall at a time of 8 minutes 15.427 seconds.
Yeah, I remember Jeff in that. Right then, here we go again.
Weather-wise, John, just looking at the weather, looking at my trusty little app here, the high propensity of rain would have been 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock today. That was the worst, that was the highest chance of it. Looks okay for this. Tomorrow, 80% forecast.
Oh, Bradley might get his...
Exactly.
He might get his...
So we might see the fastest lap of the weekend right now.
Stand by. Here we go on the Dottinger Her, coming towards us through what appears to be a heat haze at the moment. The best weather we've had all week, the fastest time we've had all week. We've already seen that in that first session with the 8:10. Will it be bettered in the next 17 minutes or so? Aaron then coming to the line as the Team Advan Yokohama Schott AMG rides the curbs at the final part of the chicane on the Nordschleife, comes out from behind the gravel trap, and the pole shootout is underway as he crosses the line in front of us and goes down towards the first corner. Now pick your first braking marker. It's just a quick left then right, right then left, excuse me. So Ralph Aaron is off and running. He's a dozen seconds into his run. BMW Augusto Farfus was out in the first part of qualifying. He's not in the same car, so he's allowed to go again in the 99 car.
one thing that Nico Verone commented on when he came in after putting the car, the number 1 Fricadelli Ferrari, up there into top qualifying 2, he says there's a few positions, there's a few places where it's a little bit dusty, a little bit where the grip just drops away. So it's got to really keep it in check here. And for Gustav Farfus, he's had that sighting lapse.
Those of you staying up late or early in Australia, Matt Campbell, magnificent Matt Campbell, what a 2024 he's already had, and he's off and running as through goes the Valkenhorst Aston Martin number 35, the brightly coloured car. And now we wait for Daniel Kravitz for Fricadelli, the fastest car this week so far, disqualified from first qualifying practice because they ran too high a boost. They weren't on the right chip and they lost all of their times and had to go through their qualifying procedures all over again, but they're still in with a shout for pole position.
That's it. They were always going to be in top qualifying 1, having to qualify through to top qualifying 2. The only thing they were disqualified from was the minimum requirement where the drivers have to get 2 or 3 laps in to be able to actually take the start of the race, to be qualified for the race. But this determines the actual starting position.
Matt Campbell started very quickly on the Grand Prix circuit. He's already 0.4 of a second ahead of Aaron in the first sector, but he's just been pipped by a couple of thousandths by Karlovic. We're going to have to keep an eye on that red and white Fricadelli Racing, the Fro beer sponsorship on that car. And my goodness, to get their money's worth out of that, they did last year when they were partying. I'll tell you that for nothing. And it has affected our shopping choices this week.
Support those who support racing.
Yeah, absolutely. There might be the odd red or white can back at the chalet.
Some are empty, some are still full.
Does that make you two meatheads?
We will be having Fricadelli. We will be having Fricadelli for Monday morning breakfast before we leave. It's already in my fridge. It's part of a delicious, nutritious breakfast. Quickest in the first part is the 911 Lawrence Vanto in the Grello Manthey car from just down the road at Moispath. They don't bother bringing the car in its transporter. They put a yellow flashing light on the roof and get an escort, and they drive it from the workshop down into the back of the circuit. Brilliant.
Proper.
That's great.
Proper. Absolutely right.
It's brilliant stuff. Not an unusual sight round here, even when they're going testing.
That's fantastic, isn't it? You hear these stories about in the 1950s and when Jim Clark drove a D-type Jaguar in the snow to go and race at Full Sutton. You think that was in the late 1950s. It's 2024 and we're still doing it.
They still do the Spa 24 hours.
Yeah.
You go down to the town and to Spa and drive the cars back, and I can tell you, driving a GT1 car on the road with a slight addition of a bit of ride height, and that's all. The car you're going to use in the race, it is mega.
Yeah.
You think it's funny you think it's fun on track. To get to drive it on the road, it's just like, how insane and surreal is this?
I've covered a few of those. We did it in Bahrain for a GT event a few years ago. That got somewhat out of hand, in fairness. And
no idea what you're talking about.
Bathurst
never happened.
Bathurst do track to town, and they do a lap of the circuit and then peel off at the final corner at Murray's, drive down past a couple of local schools where all the kids are allowed out onto the pavements. And I chased it down last year in a beautiful classic Holden from the Australian Motorsport Museum, which is situated there. Thank you very much, Brad, for taking me down in that. Times, Peter. It is Vanto, and it is the Porsche of the team that is based just up the road.
Lawrence Vantor is a collector, not of cars, a collector of trophies and achievements, and has his list of everything he wants to tick off. He also loves records. He's had the pole record before. He had it for 5 years, and he had it snatched off him by Raffaele Marciello. Judging by the first 4 sectors, I think he wants it back.
I don't think he's leaving much in the tyres for the second lap, though.
Well, maybe you just do that one lap dash. He might not need to.
So at 8:10, was it 8:10? 8? Did we say?
8:10, 8:89.
Right. Okay. Predictions then. Are we going to be faster than that? I think we are.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure we'll see an 8.9, but I think we might see a low 8.10, 8.10.1, 8.10.2.
I'm going to 8.10.2.
Right.
I'm going to.
Snowy says it at 10.2.
I'm 8.99.
Oh,
You rebel.
you are.
I like to look
Are you going to go higher? Higher or lower? Higher or lower? All purple sectors from Lawrence Vanthoor. He was the 10th car away. He's going to be gaining on Max Hesse. He's taken half a second out of him there, another 10th. He's taken the better part of 6/10 of a second from Max Hesse in the BMW ahead of him. Augusto Farfus pops out of the Caracciolo carousel. He is driving the second car on the road, the Rover Racing BMW M4 GT3, the number 99. Clear track ahead of the team Advan. Rolf Aron car. But it is Vanthoor at the moment who continues to light up our timing screen as he goes through sector 5, one of the longer sectors here, in a 1:45.7. That's another 2 seconds ahead of some of the cars ahead of him, and a minimum of 2 or 3 tenths ahead. He's going to be a second, at least a second better than anyone else, and he's not even hit the longest sector yet, P-Mac.
Lawrence Vanthoor's had a fantastic season, winning at the Bathurst 12 Hours, leading the World Endurance Championship, and now tracking for a seriously impressive pole time here in the in Ravenel ADAC 24 Hours out of the Nürburgring. But there might be other cars that are going very much easy on their first lap and going for it on the second lap. Last year, pole sitter Marciello, he did it on his second lap.
27 Red Bull team apt car with the fastest sector 5 and has taken a couple of milliseconds away from Vanthoor. Vanthoor will be fuming if he doesn't get the fastest sector all the way through. Ricardo Feller picking up pace in the Scherer Sport PHX Audi number 16th, the 7th car to run, but they've all got time to make up on Vanthoor. Has he gone too early? Has he taken too much out of his tyres as he comes into the last third of the lap now?
He keeps it all together now, but that's sector 5 there. The Van der Linde in the Lamborghini, it's a 100th quicker, that's all.
Right.
And it counts, but it isn't all the way through. But this is what he wants to get. There's the next section 7.
That's the long one.
Yeah, section 6 I cut out. Section 7 is the big one. That's the long one. That's nearly 2.5 minutes.
Here comes the Haupt Racing car on the Younger Hammers. Cross the line now, and this is the time they'll all be shooting for. Now that's an 8:17. That's slower than most of the cars that we saw in the previous session. 14s. The Conrad car did a 14 just on a 1 lap. Now here's Farfus. Farfus tracking well in that long 7th sector. He's surely got to be looking at something under a 12 if he's going to be competitive. He goes across the line, it's a 12.1, and he goes to the top. I don't think that's quick enough for pole. I do not think that's quick enough. Here's Campbell for Herbeth Motorsport in the FAT Turbo livery. He goes across the line, and oh no, that's a 15. So that is a steady first lap. We've got to say that wouldn't have qualified him. That wouldn't have qualified him in the first run. I expected these first laps to be a wee bit quicker. Through goes Ortmann. That's David Ortmann in an 18. Now, Kyle Fritz in the car that has put the fastest lap time of the week in, comes to the line now, and it's Farfus's time he has to beat, and he beats it. Not by much, by 1/1000th of a second, the smallest margin that we can measure here. But Fricatelli went even quicker on the second lap last time in this shootout.
Shearer.
Motorsport to the top, Shearer Sport, Ricardo Feller. Now a 12 flat. We've got 3 cars within 0.09 of a second, and Chris Haase blows that out of the water. The 72 car goes through, and an 11.3, and there's a 10.9 for Max Hesse. Now, Max Hesse was quick, but we know the car that was behind him, which is the Grello car. No, he's got through. The Grello car has gone through, and Vanthoor is only second. Now we've got half a second, call it 4. It's 4/10. Got a half a second between first and second. A 10.9 against an 11.3. Is there more to come? The Fricatelli racing car improved markedly on the second lap the time before. Is there enough left in the tyres for Karlovic?
Vanthoor lost 1.4 seconds in the Tiergarten. So from Antonius Bucca Bridge to the start-finish line, he lost 1.4 seconds. So
That's
it's got to be
potentially losing pole.
It is.
Well, that is the difference. Yeah, I mean, that is gone. Yeah, because he's 4/10 off, and he lost 1.4 in that last sector. So it all went away there for Laurens Vanthoor.
So now we build again through the Grand Prix circuit. An early mistake on the Grand Prix circuit can be so damaging. By the way, Van der Linde's gone through. I said keep an eye on that number 27 Ferrari, third position. Top 3 within half a second now. A second takes you down to 6th position, and there's some very, very small gaps. As through comes the Lion Speed car. Patrick Niederhauser's the last man to complete his lap, and that's a creditable 10th position for the Lion Speed car.
Pretty good.
BMW, Team RMG leads from Porsche and Manthey from Red Bull, Lamborghini, Team Abt, Sport, Audi and Ferrari make it 5 different manufacturers in the top 5. How's that for variety?
Well, great job by the ADAC to get the balance of performance spot on. There's a lot of criticism about the system in various series, and clearly, if you can get 5 manufacturers in the top 5, it's working.
I've often said radio communications between the team and the driver are absolutely vital. Somebody tell Max Hesse that he's on provisional pole already.
Yeah.
Because he's using a lot of curve. He's not taking any risk, but he's obviously in the zone. That first one, he's got the banker lap in. It happens to be the fastest, 8:10.992.
Yeah, but he's going to have some traffic here.
Possibly.
That's what happened to Vanthoor, wasn't it, at Tiergarten? It must have been traffic.
Is that what it was?
Must have been to take at 1.4 seconds.
That's a lot, or it's a mistake. Pierre Kaffer in the Jutta Audi just coming into Arenberg, but right behind him will be your provisional pole sitter, Max Hesse. So you're right, John. There could be traffic here. How rarely do you say that Pierre Kaffer's going to be getting in the way?
Yeah, and Kaffer will not be happy with his first lap, which is left him down the timing screen in 17th with an 8:19. Something awry there. Coming up to Arenberg Force then, Max Hesse. Not bad, but he's not lighting up the timing screen. He's not beaten any of his previous times to this point. But will he get a little bit of a tour on some of the straighter, faster parts of the circuit as he heads to the far side of the circuit? Sun right in his eyes now as the car points west and now down into Callanard with something to aim for in terms of that car. Second place for Vanthoor. No improvements in any of the sectors from any of the 17 drivers.
Shows you that with just this ever so slight rise in sunshine on the tarmac, it's maybe just raised it up enough where the optimum lap is that first lap. So whatever happened in that final sector there for Laurens Vanthoor, he's going to be playing that one back in his head tonight before the race tomorrow, because this really means a lot to Laurens Vanthoor. Yes, it's if you're in those first few rows, as Snowy rightly said, you're right there, and the big prize is handed out on Sunday at the end of the 24-hour race. But Laurens Vanthoor loves these opportunities to show that he is the top man. 72
and 71 being, of course, Max Hesse in the BMW, just behind 71 Pierre Kaffer in the Jutta racing car. Is he going to use Pierre Kaffer there?
Could get it.
Is Pierre Kaffer going to help him on that? And so just use, we talk about this with the 2 Falcon cars, you might get that advantage now, depending where he comes across them. So far, he hasn't gotten away to cause a problem, but he might just have an advantage from Pierre Kaffer there, a little bit of draft.
Klaus Bachler in the 33 Falcon car in 9th, his teammate Christian Menzel next in the line, a couple of seconds away in 14th position. Remember the earlier session, means that Adam Christodoulou is effectively in 18th. David Pittard was in 19th, and so on and so forth down that first shootout run. The Glickenhaus did not take part. They are changing their engine. It was a planned engine change. They did the whole of the final standard qualifying practice session, and they don't want a long night tonight before a 24-hour race. So Jim and the rest of the team making the decision to start that engine change, which they knew they were going to have to do early, and therefore they've got an hour, nearly 2 hours of a head start on that engine change now.
Nico Verone's lap to go through fastest in top qualifying one is still the fastest.
lap, correct.
8:10.889.
And now I'm thinking that might not be beaten.
Doesn't look like it right now. 8:10.992. So what are we talking? 3,000ths there. But by Max Hess, your provisional pole sitter at the moment in car 72 for BMW. So Kvyat's in that Ferrari, 8:12.156. He sits 5th right now.
Nobody's improving.
No.
Nobody is improving their sector times, Snowy.
No, Max Hess is at Brunch and he's still behind Pierre Caffer.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. He's going to have a tow down the Dottinger Hoa. That might give him a bit of an advantage down there. That's his best shot.
Yeah.
If the lap's not already gone already.
Well, indeed, that's a good point. Across the line then for the first car in line, and that was the Team Advan car, and that was an improvement. So that was an improvement from Rolf Aaron at 8:14.308, and he therefore at the moment is in 12th position, the outside of row number 6. Augusto Farfus then will come across the line next for Rover BMW. There he goes. Now, did he seemed to have lifted off. I don't think he improved. No, he didn't. That's that 2 and a bit seconds that we saw the first time around. Those the only 2 have completed. Here's Matt Campbell at the moment down in 14th position, and again he's a second and a half away from what he did last time. That's David Ortmann in the brightly coloured Aston Martin, and he doesn't improve. Just under a second. Right, here's Kvyat. This was a much quicker car in second lap earlier on. Through goes the number 1, and no, he's 6/10 slower. Tell you what though, Ricardo Feller has found a little bit of pace at the end of the lap, and so has Chris Haase. Chris Haase in the long section has just put the fastest sector in, and Ricardo Feller has found pace at the right time. He's onto the inside of row 2. 4/10 from pole, 8/1000ths away from the front row. The 16 Share Sport Audi moving up. Red Bull Team Abt, Van der Linde still coming through as well. He's in 4th at the moment, still to have his fastest lap. Here comes the Grello car. The 911 does not improve, stays in second. Here comes Share Sport. The 15, checkered flag is out. Goes up to inside of row 3 for Chris Haase at 8:11. Decent little improvement. All of that time was in the long sector 7. All of it. Fabian Schiller in the 130 comes to the line, doesn't improve. No. He was 3 seconds, nearly 4 seconds slower than his first lap. He's the Van der Linde, Kelvin Van der Linde in the 27, and doesn't improve, couple of seconds away. I'm not seeing any improvements in times at all here. What about the 2?
Maxi Goetz improved an 8:13.197, taking him up to 9th, just behind his teammate in the 130 Get Speed car, Fabian Schiller.
Waiting for the Falcon cars to come through. 33 first, Klaus Bachler. 8:13.9 against an 8:13.6 first time around. He's the Lion Speed car coming to the line right now. Patrick Niederhauser. And stays in 12th position, does not improve. So what happened to the 44? Christian Menzel. Menzel did improve on his last lap, but stays in 14th. So we have our pole sitter, and it's a BMW. And it's the former BMW junior team driver, Max Hesse, who has the 8:10.992 fastest lap in single car qualifying. Goes to Fricadelli, and that's what got them into the shootout. Ultimately, that's only netted them the outside of row 3 for the defending champions. Your thoughts, P-Mac?
Well, Ricardo Feller in the number 16 Share Sport Audi will be delighted with the tow that he got right at the end of his lap. He got that from Yusuf Owega in the Bilstein Mercedes, and that just leapt him up onto into third there. Is it a surprise to see the number 72 on pole? In my opinion, no, not at all. They've been the stars of the show all week.
Is it a surprise, though, Peter, that Hesse, who's been brilliant in that car, well, all right, let's say he's matched the time that we saw earlier on from the Fricadelli car, but he hasn't blown that time out of the water at all.
No, I mean, it's very easy to speak with hindsight, but if you'd generally asked me before who are your contenders for pole, I'd have said either that BMW or Grello.
Yeah.
And what's on the front?
Yeah, first
those
and
two cars.
Class always comes to the top.
What has surprised me though is that Fricadelli just dropped away a little bit. That it's on the third row.
Yeah.
I thought that would be in the top. Might not just get the front row. Thought it would be on the second row. No brainer. It's not quite. It doesn't matter. It's it's just surprising me at this point that it's 6th.
But here's the thing, we haven't seen a lot of that Fricadelli car this year, have we?
No.
So if they had pre-qualified into the pole shootout and done the time that car is available, they'd have been on pole position.
That is true.
If
However, when you look at the overall picture of top qualifying 1 to top qualifying 2, there was a lot less improvements in the second lap on top qualifying 2.
Only 6 cars out of the 17
whereas
improved.
top qualifying 1 there was a lot more improvements on that second lap. So I think that's due to the sun just coming out. When you're talking levels of nuance like you talk on an Indianapolis qualifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That shows you how tight it is.
You've got that many corners here.
Yeah.
Into Parc Fermé then for the cars after the shootout. And it will be BMW and Porsche on the front row for the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring when we come to the line to start the race tomorrow. We do have a warm-up which we'll bring to you. And also for the first time on the English language stream, we will have the 3-hour young timer race from 8:40. We're on the air in the morning, Central European summertime. BMW, Porsche, then Audi, Lamborghini, Audi, Ferrari, BMW, Mercedes. Best of the Mercedes, the Team Get Speed car, the number 130, 2.1 seconds away from pole position. Then the HRT car will be on the inside of row 10 with the first of the Falcon Porsches. Then it's Mercedes Bilstein, the number 3 on the inside of row 6 with the line speed on the outside. I think Patrick Kolb will be reasonably happy with that, actually. Team Advan with the Yokohama tyres on the inside of row 7 with the Falcon, the second of the Falcon Porsches. Matt Campbell, Herbert Motorsport on the inside of row 8 and some 4.2 seconds off the time. I don't think Matt Campbell's been 4.2 seconds off anything in his racing career, has he?
And to be for Matt Campbell to be kicking on for 4 seconds behind his works teammate Lawrence Vantor. Yes, they're driving for different teams. Grello, Manthey are the masters here. More wins than anyone, sure. But the car rolls the same out of the truck. So it's a collective effort between driver, team, manufacturer. And for Matt, he won't be happy at all with that.
And the only cars behind him are the Vulcan Sport Aston Martin and the Jutta Racing Audi, both of which did not really put in representative times, 8:19s for those guys. Now, that said, we know that Herbert Motorsport are kings of the strategy. So our top three then, in third position, Share Sport, the 16 car, Ricardo Feller doing the job there. Lawrence Vanthoor was close, but not close enough. Ultimately, the second and third place cars were 4/10 away from Christopher Haase and BMW M Team from Max Hesse, not Haase, and the BMW M Team RMG, the red number 72 car with an 8:10.992. If you want to award a special little prize, the fastest lap time was by the Fricadelli Ferrari by 3/1000ths of a second in the last chance saloon shootout. I think Klaus Abelen will be quite happy with that, and that car, Snowy, still starts on the first three rows. That's not a disaster for the defending race winners.
Far from it. It's a 24-hour race. It's a whole day to go.
How are you wrapping it up, Paymac?
We've got a great mix of manufacturers up there. I think there's so many questions to answer over the next 24 hours in the race. And remember, it's not going to be the conditions we've just seen. It's going to be wet. So with this form book could be completely ripped up.
Ricardo Feller, take a bow for getting the Share Sport Audi up there. We've not seen that kind of single lap pace from that car this week, and particularly the Red Bull Abt Lamborghini.
They've
found pace at the right time.
No. They haven't had that lap time, that headline grabbing lap time.
Yeah.
When you just look at the sectors and piece them together, it's not a surprise to see those cars up there.
Okay.
It's Fricadelli the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Fricadelli have not.
So when you look at the ideal times, if they string a good lap together, and in fairness, we're not suggesting, dear viewer and listener, that anything's been hidden here. It has been in those first three sessions that we've had. There's been a lot of yellow flags, a lot of code 60s. So actually, Peter, putting a good lap together has been a challenge for everybody. So the pace that we've seen here kind of has been borne out by those ideal lap times and sectors from each of the cars that are at the sharp end of the field, Snowy.
Most definitely, and it's going to be so different with the condition tomorrow. I mean, but if I said to you, Peter, or John, before this qualifying session, that the Lamborghini would be 2 cars ahead of the Ferrari, last year's winning car, you'd have thought I'd gone mad.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't.
Well, I've gone mad. Well, that's because you think I'm mad anyway.
No. No, the Lamborghini's pace, genuinely, that's not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah, but
they've been strong.
It needs to be reliable.
They did run reliably last year, just had a puncture, which was no fault of their own.
That's true.
Yeah, watch out for them. They're the dark horse or dark bull.
They never seem to get the look in the short NLS races, but they were good in the 24-hour. Whereas, unfortunately, and I'm not going to jinx it here, that M4 BMW seems to ace 4-hour races. It qualifies well, but 24-hour races don't seem to get the luck, do they?
Let's review then the pole sitting performance for Max Hesse. 3/1000ths of a second slower than the fastest lap we saw from the Ferrari. But remember, we said it didn't matter for the Ferrari because we reset everything they needed to do that to get into the shootout. Always difficult to know how hard to push early on. This was his first lap, so maybe Snowy, they knew that they were going to have to do it on the first lap. Make a mistake on the Grand Prix circuit, it's so deflating down towards the Goodyear curve, braking very, very late for that, taking the approach of 2 apices to that, let the car run in the middle, now climbing up the hill to the Schumacher S's. And you said before this session, it's about getting yourself into a calm mindset. There is a car ahead of him because everybody other than the first car had a car ahead of him. He's got to kind of ignore that and just get into his own rhythm.
It is, and one of the things you can do, you're absolutely right, not take too many risks, but you can get into that flow straight away on the Grand Prix circuit. You can afford to push a bit more there because you've got greater runoff areas. So if there is a mistake, you've got less risk. Once you get onto the Nordschleife, and I always say this, the Sabine Schmitz curve, where you go 180 degrees round, it's almost a metaphor for what's about to come, because on the right-hand side, as you go through there, that left-hand hairpin, there is no space. It is literally a metal barrier, and then you set off down Hatzenbach roller coaster. So that's where you've got to get it right.
On onto the hats and back then, still with the sunshine for Max Hesse, with the pole lap that we are reviewing and describing for you now. Not too much curb on the left, but plenty on the right where there's that little bit of block paving. He'll do exactly the same on the next right. Now, balance the car coming through to the right left before he dives down over the bridge. No curb link used on either of those APCs there, but the exit curb you can. Now over the bridge, heading towards Flugplatz, climbing the hill to the brow. Was there a little lift there just to balance the car? I think going up the first, the right-handers up the hill.
145 miles an hour you're tipping into Flugplatz. That uphill jumping right-hander, 235 kilometres an hour if you prefer, down towards Schwedenkreuz. Absolutely 100 to the wall left-hander.
70 miles an hour.
270 kilometres an hour, 167 miles an hour through Schwedenkreuz.
Now the newly resurfaced Foxhole is the next challenge, and it really is a challenge. Peter was telling us the other day that it's quicker through the middle part of it, but at the end it's a new challenge.
There's this curve on the left at the end, and said there, you can't use that now. They've changed the chamfer of the curve. You used to be able to fly out of that and then stop. Now you can't. So you gain it all on the way down, but you've got to be mindful of that at the end of it. It's a different mindset, and it's totally different for these guys, but absolutely just so metronomically precise here from Max Hesse so far. Not even halfway through the lap.
It was only 0.4 of a second, the gap to the rest of the field, as he gets the sun in his eyes before turning right and plunging down towards Callan-Harden. The run down towards Adenau. Oh, now he didn't short shift there. He used all the revs in qualifying mode. Nice big lift for the second of the right-handers coming down to Verstappen now. There's one more right-hander.
And there was a short back up and down.
Yes,
again.
he was. Very quickly.
Between,
Gaining on the car in front here, and this could be very, very important as he comes down the hill towards the bridge at Adenau. Braking just before the road on the right-hand side, the little entry road there. Now over the bridge, climbs. Oh, back on the throttle super early at that point as he comes to the Niki Lauda corner and heading towards
and back
the
up
big climb.
again
very quickly.
Exploiting the torque of that BMW there.
Down 3 gears. Get that apex right to the red and white curb. Now, from here, pretty much to the top of the Caracciola carousel, you're climbing all the way, and this is flat. You do not lift. You do not lift.
You do for Mudcurve.
Well, you do for Mudcurve, yes, but not through this bit here. That third of the left-handers, it tightens, and visually it tightens even more because the runoff is getting narrower and narrower. His Mudcurve coming up right now. Down a gear. And then straight back on the throttle to balance the car. No curbs taken through this part. He's coming up to the base of the climb to the carousel.